Shattered Space, Starfield's very first DLC, is coming this year, likely within the next few months actually. But my big question right now is just, how big is Shattered Space? Because when this was first announced, as in when we had the title and that was all we knew about it, you know, we could pre-order Starfield with the Premium or Constellation Edition and get the first DLC for free. Because of this, I always just sort of assumed that Shattered Space would be like the automatron of Starfield. Now, Automatron was Fallout 4's first DLC, for those of you who don't know. We got a couple of new weapons and pieces of armor, a ton of new enemies, like a 3-ish hour questline, depending on how fast you go through it, and sort of a new companion. It was a robot, but it was a companion. Compared to Fallout 4's other DLCs like Far Harbor or Nuke World, Automatron was actually very small. So again, Shattered Space being the very first DLC of many, I did assume that it would be the Automatron of Starfield. Again, just adding in like a medium-sized questline, a few new pieces of gear, some enemies, and you know, like a couple of new locations, right? But it seems to be bigger, because when my boy Mr. Matty Plays interviewed Todd Howard, Todd did mention that Shattered Space is like Far Harbor, their first big expansion of Fallout 4, and that gets me really excited for a number of reasons. Number one, because Far Harbor, in my opinion, is the best DLC that Bethesda have ever made. And number two, because Far Harbor was so huge, and honestly the list goes on of why that excites me, I won't get into it. So clearly Shattered Space is bigger than I at least originally thought, but the question is still just how big, right? Because we know most of this DLC will take place on one planet, which is very exciting. I'm very curious to see how Bethesda handle that in Starfield. But just being on one planet, does this mean as a regular new land expansion that Bethesda would usually do, like Far Harbor, Nuke World, Dragonborn, and so on? Of course I'm just speculating here, but one of the theories I have just simply looking into this and the trailer is that this so-called planet will not act like a planet. We'll have to grav jump into the planet, which is how this hidden House Faroon planet stays hidden, and then the planet works like a regular Bethesda map, only smaller obviously. Like we're forced to stay in one area of the planet, aka map, and we can't explore anywhere else. Maybe the planet's just super dangerous or something, and that's how they explain it. In my honest opinion, I do think that this would be a mistake, not because it wouldn't be good, I think it would be great, but because it just gives rage baiters a chance to say shit like, oh, this is what Starfield should have been, and all of the usual shit that they spew up. But, to be honest, I don't actually think that this is how Bethesda will do Shattered Space, it's just a thought. I think it's way more likely that we just simply get a new system added into the map or something. To be honest, no matter how they do it, I'm sure I'm gonna love it either way, right? Because this trailer just gives me so many space horror vibes, and I absolutely love it. Like, you go to a space station and get attacked by something to the point where Barrett even tells you that, like, it's time to run away and quit fighting.
Coming aboard was a mistake. We need to run.
To be honest, I'm mostly just excited to see how Andrea plays into this DLC. I really hope, again, going back to Far Harbor, it's like how Nick Valentine played a huge role in that DLC. But again, it's just really the scale right now, that's all I'm really curious about. Everything else I'm like, I can wait, but I'm curious to know how long and just how big this DLC is going to be. Because again, I thought it would be like a few hours, and then Todd Howard said it's like Starfield's Far Harbor. And whether he means that in a scale sense, or a gameplay sense, or even just a story direction sense, we really don't know, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think, okay, so if this is Starfield's Far Harbor, then Shattered Space is pretty huge, right? But then again, when you look at this trailer, it doesn't look like a DLC that's going to come with a shit ton of side quests, a new companion, and all of the usual stuff that we get in big land expansions, right? It does look more like a smaller one quest focused DLC. And honestly, it's stuff and times like this where I do begin to get frustrated with the Bethesda secrecy that they always do, because now I don't know where to set my expectation level, you know? And I'm not saying that this could lead me to be disappointed, not at all. If this is a medium-sized quest, much like Automatron, with, you know, a few new enemies, a new location, gear, blah blah blah, then I'm cool with that. If it's a huge new land with multiple new locations, new side quests, etc., then I'm cool with that too. No matter what it is, I think this DLC looks great. Space horror is something I was really hoping that we would get a lot of in Starfield, being stuck on a space station with a dangerous alien hunting us, or something like that is just, that's the stuff I yearn for, man. So the fact that we're even getting what looks to be a horror-ish themed DLC makes me hyped. Of course, I will be reviewing Shattered Space whenever it finally drops, hopefully within the next few months, and we'll be breaking down and covering any news that releases for the DLC before then, so please do get subscribed if you do want to stay up to date on everything. Anyway, that is going to do it for me, so please do leave the video with a like if you would be so kind, and of course, as always, a huge, massive thank you to all of our channel members. The continued support means absolutely everything to me, guys. Thank you again. But anyway, with all of that said and done, we are going to wrap up. So thank you all so much for watching, and I really hope to see you next time. Peace.